Blitz and Cap. Gentlemen, enjoy MVP versus LGD.
Thank you, Dakota. We most certainly will, as this is one of the most interesting matchups you're going to be seeing in the upper brackets. A full storyline here, as LGD have quite the legacy that they're going to be upholding throughout this time, and MVP, well, they're the kind of younger upstarts who are trying to be able to prove themselves in a big tournament like this.
Yeah, for sure. You've got players like Kyo, who's got a lot to prove. He opted not to go to school and continue to play Dota against the wishes, I think, of his family. But they weren't able to make it to the last major in Frankfurt, but they were able to make it to this one, so I know they want to make a big splash. And in general, I think they have a lot to prove. They had the top 8 run that they made at TI, and they want to show that it wasn't just a fluke.
Absolutely, especially since they lost March, and that was obviously a big part of them being able to have such a great run at TI. Of course, LGD, since we've seen many of the Chinese teams have been faring a bit poor here, a lot of this comes back to their performance and seeing how well they're going to be able to adapt. We are going to have an early fight here as MVP. This is going to be really interesting. The casket is bouncing around quite a lot in the background. They're going to try and go for maybe first, but he is one of those tankier heroes. MVP not fully committing to anything here, just zoning back LGD. They managed to pick up their bounding rune, and they'll call it a day. Both bounding runes going to MVP.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a mid-Ember and a safe lane OD. And I was telling you and Shiver before the game, at first I thought it was going to be very farm-heavy from MVP. But that's only if you decide to put the Ember mid, or the Ember safe lane. If you put the Ember safe lane, then you kind of represent that you're going to go later on into the game. And if you go for the Ember mid, then you have a bit more of tempo control, and you can kind of push your advantages a little bit further with the OD.
I really did feel that that was going to be their plan as well, especially with the way that LGD are thinking about the way that they set up so much early team fight. I thought that was a good way to kind of stem the early aggression that we saw from MVP in the group stage. You know, they would just run at you, and they would play so crisp and clean that it was hard to be able to maintain control of the game. I felt like heroes like, I wasn't sure about the Disruptor, but definitely the Tidehunter and Chen were good heroes to be able to kind of stem that aggression. But it seemed like MVP Phoenix, perhaps in their first 4, were going, all right, that's fine. We'll actually switch things up on you. Go late game. But we could see with the Morphling pickup, maybe things have changed around a little bit, and putting that Ember Spirit mid will mean we have a good tempo controlling hero for QO to try and start this game out right for MVP.
I think the one thing that's a pretty big characteristic about MVP is that they don't really care about the cooldowns that they fight around. And that's something that LGD have to respect. That's the one downside of LGD's lineup that the panel mentioned. So much of it revolves around how much this Tidehunter can do with the Ravages that you have available. And LGD, they're going to have to use the Chen to kind of set the tempo and use the Tidehunter to secure the team fights. Like, the first few team fights in this game are going to change so much. Like, if MVP can get away with somewhat of an even trade after the first Ravage and kind of push on through, LGD is going to be in some trouble.
It's going to be especially hard for a Chen to be able to maintain that kind of early control, seeing as MVP do have some strong heroes versus it. They've got the Witch Doctor with the Paralyzing Cast being a good way to control those early creeps, but you also have the Nature's Prophet, who I think is also a pretty decent pickup against Chen in certain ways, in that it's able to always be able to exert some sort of global control, which does help in dealing with the Chen's early ganks, perhaps.
Yeah. Frev going to get harassed out a lot by MMY. As Disruptor is one of those solo supports that is just super annoying to play against in general for the offlane role.
Thunderstrike doing so much damage. It does 160 damage over time at level 1. It's one of the stronger level 1 abilities you can get your hands on. And then later on, if he gets level 3, he can potentially have 2 levels of Glimpse already and have that long range, or maybe a level in Kinetic Field. Either way, it's going to be a good way to actually keep Rev locked in. And we do know he's facing up against the heavy, hard-hitting Morphling, which is also one of the tougher carries to go up against. While he may not be able to provide his own disables of any kind, he just hits hard with the nuke as well as a lot of right-click damage.
Yeah. And something I really like about MVP Phoenix's lineup is this is a complete change of pace. In the group stage, we saw them almost exclusively play this, we're never going to jungle, we're just going to run at you style.
Yep.
But this time around, it feels like they made adjustments, and they don't want to just be one-dimensional coming into this tournament. I know for the group stage, they wanted to play really fast. Like, Kyo even told me that their plan was to go for this kind of like 10-minute style where they just won really aggressively. But this time around, they're showcasing, you know, the other tempo, the ability to go later on into the game so that teams just don't think if they hold the line that they can win.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what I thought LGD were going to be doing the best of, was sitting back and being able to just kind of like control out the game. But I'm really surprised that MVP Phoenix did switch things around so much on us. But it does show at least an attempt at versatility. We'll see whether or not they're able to execute with the same kind of crispness that we saw in the group stage. Looking at LGD's lineup, though, laning phase-wise, this does seem to be pretty good for them. They have the Razor matched up against the Ember Spirit. We talked about how hard that lane's going to be for the Furion. They also have a jungler. It seems like LGD should be able to get off to a pretty good start here.
What did the analyst panel say? Who did Sinner said that MVP would win, right? And so did Draskell. Who did Winter say would win? You said MVP. Oh,
only Ben said.
Okay,
LGD.
so then MVP won for sure. I was just going to go against whatever Ben said and go with Winter. So I was like, normally that's like an okay plan. It was like, Winter tells me Fnatic is going to show up and play a decent style. I'm like, you're a clown, Winter.
I like how you switched things up. Last time around, you were flaming Winter's picks no matter what. Now you're changing it over to Ben Wu.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to rotate the BTS circle of hate. It's like a rotisserie chicken, you know? You just keep turning that thing.
You can't keep it on one side for too long.
Yeah,
you have to even it out in order to really get that nice flavor. Sylar Morphling.
It's a classic.
It really is.
Winner of this, remember, is going to play against Liquid, I believe. Loser.
Who do you think has a better chance against Liquid?
Who has a better chance? I think MVP does. I think Liquid would prefer playing LGD.
Is it due to the fact that MVP can play so quickly and are one of those tempo controlling teams?
I think we just don't have enough data on them. Whereas for LGD, things are a lot more stable. Like Ben was able to call their Morphling last pick. Like they pigeonhole themselves a little bit more than I feel MVP does.
How did you feel about the Disruptor first pick, by the way, in response to the Furion? They picked up Disruptor Tide, which I love the Tide. I wasn't really sure about the Disruptor in the first one, too.
It's okay, because I think Disruptor's quite good against Ember in some ways. Like, if you drop the ult immediately, the only downside is LGD don't really have a disable to stack on top of it. So if Qo's really fast, then he just walks out of it before he can get the ring off when he has early levels, and then you just zip out. You need something to lock him in, like, simultaneously, because if he's even on the edge when you cast it, then he's almost always going to just teleport away, and the glimpse won't catch up.
But what do you think kind of the motivation was behind it, picking it up so early at the very least?
I think
Was it just all about just getting strong teamfight heroes?
Yeah, not committing too hard as
Yeah.
well. Like, you want to pick your cores later and later on, so they don't just get hard countered. Almost all the teams are always going to pick their cores like 4th, 5th, or when another team has already shown what they're going to do with the 2 supports.
Right.
You never want like a core hero to be countered by something below you, if you can at all help it.
And what did you think about the Lion last pick from MVP?
I think it's pretty good. They needed more control, and they want active fight as much as possible. Like, if you're MVP, you almost want to play around the cooldowns. Like, when you play against a Tidehunter, you have to be able to re-up really quickly. Like, you take the fight. Let's say even if you lose the fight 3-0, you have to be able to just kind of reload, say, okay, we lost that fight, but now that Ravage is down, let's take a fight.
Yeah, try and force another fight, or at least be able to take some objectives.
Exactly. If you just kind of wait, you lose the fight, and your mentality is, oh, well, we lost that fight, let's, relax a little bit or slow down. Then you either have to go ultra late game, or you just have to concede that you're going to fight around the Tide cooldowns. You almost never want to do that. You want the Tide to use it for like solo Ravages or these inefficient like 2-man ganks or something like that.
What about the Ancient Apparition, though, that the panel was talking about? I was a big fan of that, but it seems like one of the few times that we would possibly see an Ancient Apparition is that hero's just currently not really in the meta at all. Do you think that's just not possible?
I think A would have been really good.
Yeah.
I don't think it fits MVP's playstyle, but you have to learn how to make those adjustments. Just because it's good against almost all of LGD's heroes if you look at it. Like, you've got
Tide, Chen,
yeah, exactly. I think the problem is that Febby wants something a little bit more active, and Dubu's their Witch Doctor player, which sounds a little bit odd to say, but like, Febby is kind of what makes MVP Phoenix work in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people focus heavily on Qo because of his individual talent, and for sure, like, without him, they might not be as good as he is, but Febby kind of makes it all work.
Love that MVP are keeping their spirits up right now by playing some tic-tac-toe.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
Yep. I know you can't see it, but I believe QO won.
Nice.
I'm not sure, though.
You got to let your mid guy win.
Yeah, it's a confidence booster.
Exactly.
I understand. Otherwise, they start tilting too early.
Yep.
Lose the tic-tac-toe, next thing you know, losing at Dota.
Man, I miss playing against QO mid. It was so fun. We usually used to have these like side bets every time we'd play. Be like, all right, if you solo get first blooded, then you owe dinner.
And how many times did you owe him dinner, or vice
In the
versa?
beginning of Zephyr, that guy owed me a lot of dinners. Later on, things got a little bit shaky, but in the beginning, we were up in dinners.
Uh-huh.
I think I owed
At
him.
the time,
Yeah, at the
Blitz
time.
7K Storm Spirit was just beating on a
I was
4K player.
I was like, back then, it was like 4.3K or something.
Yeah, but at heart you were. At heart you were.
I was not an MMR grinder. I kind of regret that. I feel like back then, a lot of people just put too much into scrims and not into just upping your own individual play.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, players like Sumail, Miracle, all those mid one, they're showing that MMR at least means that you're willing to grind and that you can make these incremental improvements.
We'll talk about mid one a little bit. One of the newer players to MVP.
What? To Fnatic.
Or, sorry, Fnatic.
I was like,
Losing my mind a little bit here.
Wait, you wanted me to talk?
I don't know. Talk about something. You could talk about Dubu if you want.
Oh yeah, Dubu. So when he first got to Korea, Dubu was like, he was not the best player. He was part of like the MVP.
I've already heard your purge
Yeah,
plan.
he was the MVP Academy team member. So there wasn't a lot of expectations on him. And I think by the time we left, he was like 5K, and we didn't really put a lot of stock into him. He was this guy that just like showed up to MVP's matches, and he was always smiling. And his profile picture is really noticeable on the C servers because it's just him with like a fake mustache. And then all of a sudden he hits 7K, and he's the captain of this team of like veterans in the Korean scene. Makes almost no sense. Like the turnaround time was so fast. All of a sudden he just got good. And I mean, being a captain of this team especially is hard. I know all of these guys really well from a personal standpoint. Like maybe not MP, but like QO, Febby. Those guys are volatile. So is Frev. Like that's what almost anybody that plays with them says. They're a little bit volatile.
Maybe that's why it took such a happy guy to be able to pull it out.
He always smiles.
All right, we're finally back here in this game. Our matchups are pretty much all the same.
Yeah.
Looks like our Tidehunter has gone off jungle by now. He's just given up on the lane. Went Iron Town immediately. What is your opinion on offlaners getting Iron Town immediately and not showing in lane? Are you a fan of that, or do you think you really need to stay in lane to keep supports?
I don't really like it. I think a lot of people see Iron Talon as this, like, oh, well, now as an offlaner I can get some farm, but I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I know when we talk to a few offlaners around our area, we're just like, okay, what is the role of offlaner? And a lot of people think it's keep the supports there, give your mid a really favorable one-on-one matchup, because Razor is a really easy mid to gank, and make sure that you just kind of space create. You force a lot of the attention on yourself. Like if you're ROTK, you can't really read the game because you don't know what the supports are doing. You don't know their timings. You don't know when they went to pull, when they're harassing you. So you can't really call so easily. And Lion is a hero that can rotate really easily mid and set up a kill for Kuro.
Maybe that's part of why they have that ward down at the Roshan area. It does see some of those support rotations into where he could be jungling, as well as potentially trying to wrap around behind that mid dire side tower.
Yeah. Oh, they already sentryed this one as well, so ROTK...
He's cutting down trees, trying to find the ward, but he will not find it.
Sad
life.
life.
Kind of ward anyway.
Yeah. So...
I mean, he's already trying to go into a Chen jungle anyway.
I really would prefer if ROTK played at least around the lane. Just because I guess he can't really do anything against an OD lane. So one thing about playing against an OD
this lane is so terrifying. He's caught out by one disable. Next thing you know, he's imprisoned.
He's doing whatever he can. Yeah. I think at some point though, you actually have to show up to the lane, regardless of how awful it's going to be.
Now, what time does our Chen really become active? Is this going to be a full AFK farming Chen at this point? Because he doesn't really need to help out the mid. Obviously, he can't do anything about bottom, and top lane Furion's being Furion. It's a hard hero to gank.
I think when you have the catapult, DDC's timing is going to come up. Because a lot of his camps have been kind of warded out, and you want to try to get aggressive. Nature's Prophet is a hero that you need more than just the Disruptor +1 to do something about.
Yeah. Rev already has his phase boost plus level 4. He's actually in pretty good position. I wonder if they're actually ever going to be able to
That's actually so much farm for an
rotate
offlaner.
on mid, yeah.
That's what I mean. It can't just be Morph plus Disruptor, because Rev gets level 2 Treants, and he just right-click trades. That's why MMY is left as well, because he's not really sure what he's supposed to do here.
Rev does find the haste rune. He's going to be running into maybe here. Febby does slow him down. They also get the Maledict on top of him. They're committing all 4 heroes to be able to pick up this kill. Maybe will end up going down for the first blood. Febby is actually not going to take out from that one. Thunderstrike not quite enough damage. DDC getting caught by the Sprout now. QO's not going to be able to catch up. Rev's just going to get some good right clicks in and call it a day.
Yeah. They killed all his creeps too, right? That's
Yeah, they
pretty
killed
massive.
the
Oh, he's
wolf
going to
and the
kill him.
centaur. Oh, wow.
He's got this
really
one.
diving in deep. The phase boots will allow him to keep up with DDC and picks up the secondary kill.
Oh, if he got out too, that'd be so sick.
Yeah, nobody
MVP is
from
gonna be
LGD
so
is
happy
rotating.
about
They've
that.
got 2 in the bottom lane, and maybe just now TPing into the mid lane, and he may actually die again here. QO is a little bit out of mana. Febby almost dies there. Maledict, it's going to take on maybe again 2 more times. He's got a bottle charge, though. I believe that's just enough HP for him to be able to survive.
That's... As a mid player, I'll tell you, this is the most annoying thing in the world. How are they going to gank me again? They just did it.
Yeah.
Like a double back. And you know what the crazy thing is? MVP Phoenix, I bet they do it again. It's the 3rd time in a row. Like the 3rd time's a charm.
And they can afford to do that, right? Because ROTK was out of the lane for so long.
Exactly.
They didn't really need to worry about him. They blocked his camp once, body blocked it with Dubu, and then they could just full rotate to mid.
This is why the OD pick works so well for MVP as well. Just because now the Tide is in a one-on-one matchup. For example, if you left the Nitrous Prophet one-on-one against Morphling, Forev would be so happy. He could just right-click the Morph, farm out with pretty much ease. But what are you going to do as a Tide Hunter now in this kind of position? Like you're level 3, level 4 now, but the OD's level 6 and he has treads already.
Yeah.
How are you going to survive that? You can't.
RTK does do something pretty smart here. He does manage to get the Radiant hard cam pull over. Will be able to pull the lane back to him, so he might be able to pick up a little bit easier CS instead of sitting so far forward in lane. Forev sitting on that top rune. Maybe he's going to make his rotation, but again, the supports are going to be there. Maybe he's going to be surrounded for the 3rd time as the Ember Spirit is going to be able to sit on top of him with that Flame Guard. They should be an easy kill for 1, but are they going to be able to get a turnaround kill? Dubu is going to be right-click down, but the Flame Guard is still up for QO. He's going to chase down MMY. Febby's going to help him out with a couple right-clicks, and they'll pick up that kill as well. Forev claims the double kill. 4-1 now to the favor of MVP.
Yeah, and the Razor's going to learn a really important lesson there. Don't go to runes alone. Make sure that your supports have secured it first.
Not against MVP, that's for sure. You may have thought that they were going to be slowing down the tempo of this game with the way they picked up later game heroes such as OD, Ember, and Furion, but these heroes all are able to come online by about 4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And Febby's now running at ROTK. He's going to make sure that staircase is going to be completely blocked out. With Rev joining the crew, they're going to be able to find yet another easy kill. MVP Phoenix are just controlling this game so damn well in the first 10 minutes.
The laning phase has gone way too well for them, and now this Ember's in a position where he can actually actively lane against this Razor. And that's the whole point of picking Razor, is that you want a favorable laning situation. And they haven't even been able to get it, as they're going to run at them again, but this is going to put MMY in such an awkward position, Cap, where he has to camp mid, he's not getting levels, and as a solo support disruptor, you don't really come online until you're 6. And you never want to be behind with this hero. You want to consistently play aggressively. And so he's going to be really unhappy about having to make this playstyle change. It's going to open up this top lane for Frev to do whatever he wants.
Especially since his controlling mechanisms aren't actually going to be all that good against an Ember Spirit. Once that Ember Spirit picks up level 6, if they somehow manage to run at the Razor and he tries to send the Ember back, he'll just throw a Spirit forward.
Yeah, they knew the 2 supports are here, so that's pretty good for ROTK. As I don't really think they can get a kill here. RTK is playing this really smart, actually. He's just soaking up XP. He knows because of the catapult that they're most likely at bottom trying to do the wraparound.
Dire's
That's
bottom tower is under attack.
dual support 101, I think.
Yeah. That being said, MVP Phoenix don't necessarily have the greatest way to quickly take towers just because they have managed to get control of the early game despite something that I said earlier. There is going to be plenty of time for LGD to be able to make a comeback in the mid game where many of their heroes are going to be strongest, such as Razor and Tide.
You've got to get this Tide level 6, though. I think the first Ravage is going to mean a lot. Maybe he's going to get gone again, but Kyo just jumps out. He's just baiting it at this point. And ROTK, he's going to get his level 6 off of this, which is pretty big for him. He's almost got Arcane Boots too, so he hasn't been as slowed down as we thought. Although that's pretty rough compared to the other offlaner. Like this, Nature's Prophet is going to help pick up a tower mid, and he's got 3,400 net worth.
They're going to rotate LGD supports around. They're not actually going straight for the tower here. They're going to rotate all the way around, perhaps to bottom lane. Maybe they think that mid lane fight is not one that they can actually take, and they want to try and pick off MP. They just lay down a counter wards. Pretty typical for supports on Radiant side to try and get that cliff ward up, but wasn't actually there this time around.
Yeah. The benefit of having a core like Morph is oftentimes what will happen, Cap, is when you rotate both your supports like that, your core has to run away. Like he just has to hide in the jungle or farm out. But the Morph can continue to show because there's not a whole lot I think MVP has that can kill him when he has Wand and Strike Treads.
So he can actually afford to try and push out that lane and maybe challenge the tower if Furion's going to be so active in the mid lane.
He wants to try to get the MP up there because Forev is doing way too much on the map right now. You want to bring this Nature's Prophet up, try to force him to get a little bit more farm out of that. Because right now, the Nature's Prophet has even more net worth than this Morphling. And yeah, it's tower gold, but still, it doesn't really matter that much.
Sylar runs into a bit of a stack, is going to go back to trying to push out that wave. Meanwhile, Chen, I think DDC is trying to get MMY to level 6 at this point. Jungling a little bit with him. He really needs this experience. He's moving too much around the map.
It's playing reactionary Dota, Cap.
Yeah.
Like you're rotating around because both the supports from MVP are getting so active, and LGD aren't really sure what they're supposed to be doing in this situation. So they rotate MMY there as a precautionary measure. But MVP then say, okay, we're going to stop doing that. We'll go for the flat-out push, take your tower instead, and waste your time.
And then after they've completed the push, they now sit a little bit farther back. Their supports are able to focus on gaining levels, which they might have been a little bit behind on if they roamed mid so much and hadn't gotten as many kills.
Look at this
You
right
can see our line is actually doing the hard camp pull.
4 heroes started going down, thinking their Tide was going to get gone on. And they're trying to play around ROTK's Ravage right now. That's the one downside about the giant watermelon is he's super immobile. You want to play around his timings, but it's a little bit too obvious. And LGD are in a position now where they have to do something. I almost think they have to commit to this bottom tower, just because look at MMY just run around in a circle.
Tier 2 is going to feel a bit of pressure from the MVP, as Sylar can't actually do much to pull the creep wave off the tower right now. QO playing really aggressively. Sylar's going to start morphing to strength. Obviously, there shouldn't be any issues with him here. But they might be able to catch Dubu. Dubu's going to be running into potentially 4 heroes of LGD. They are going to be able to glimpse him back, stopping that TP. And MVP Phoenix finally make their first kind of blunder of the game. Oh, Dubu's going to buy so much time now. He's still dead, but maybe has to actually chase down this kill, whereas earlier he just wanted to take it with the plasma field.
And that's such a kind of weak kill. It's the lowest net worth hero in the game. It doesn't offer a lot of experience. But Febby actually catches him with the stun.
They still managed to get the stun, though. Out from the troll, follow-up with Centaur 1, Centaur 2, and Febby will be controlled long enough to be able to burst him down. MP has joined the battlefield, but they're not actually going to be able to fight it out. Still, though, that was another smoke used by LGD, and it wasn't really a high-priority kill. Lion already got his level 6, and if they actually lose maybe here, this is going to be even worse. Maybe he's dropped incredibly low, and it looks like Forev's going to be able to pick up the kill. The bottle goes out, but it's still not enough, dominating already for Forev, as he's just been all over the place, attributing to these kills.
Yeah, and that's the strength of the Nature's Prophet in general. This is why you start to see it as a first pick material in the games that we've seen today. You can get so active with it around the map. It's hard to kind of center around the fights, just because you know you're almost always at a numerical disadvantage. And I almost feel like DDC isn't playing proactive enough. Everything he's doing is a little bit too reactionary. They haven't even been able to take any towers, and this
And then
disruptor,
why?
he needs the 6.
He really wanted that level 6, but he's not going to be able to get it. Fevy blows him up with 1-2 punch.
He's under attack.
That'll actually help
Look at
our
this
Witch
split.
Doctor
This
get a
is
few
so
more
beautiful.
levels.
He was just going to jump away. Creates a lot of space for his team at bottom. And LGD are in a situation where they just have to choose right now. Like, you either allow this Ember to farm, but you're going to lose some creeps here for sure.
And that's actually so critical. They needed those creeps to be able to lead
Oh
this
my
kind of
God.
frontline
They're all
charge,
dead.
but they're going to lose all of them.
This Chen has not had the
Dire's
desired
bottom tower
effect.
is under attack.
Well, certainly not. He hasn't even picked up a fast mech. I mean, he was given a certain amount of space, but they tried to rotate so much, and he wasn't able to pick up any real kills, that it's resulted in him actually
Dire's
falling
bottom
behind in
tower
farm.
has fallen.
Yeah. Right now, 2,800 net worth for a hero that should be well over that mark right now. Look at Faref's farm right now. He's almost got an Orchid already, complete with the drums too.
If he actually gets the Orchid
middle
before
tower
the
is under
the
attack.
Lincoln's is up on the Morphling.
It's not even that. It's just he has solo pickoff potential on anybody on LGD right now. And that's such a scary thought, that
Radiant's
one
middle
hero can
tower
split up
is
your
under
team so
attack.
much. So now LGD have to play almost around each other. ROTK is going to go down. I think this is going to mean Roshan next for MVP, because you're not going to buy back this early into the game. Maybe you
certainly
have
not.
to, but
Taking away one of the biggest team fighters right next to the Roshan
Dire's
pit.
bottom
Very
tower
easy
is
just to be
under
able to
attack.
slide on in with their heroes. The
at
Furion
this
can
ward.
take up with the Treants. Nice aggressive ward from the Dubu.
they want to spot in case they decide to smoke below the tower.
And this will help them later on when they go for the tier 2 mid push as
Yeah.
well.
You've got to make a decision right now, and you've got to be decisive for LGD. You know they're rushing for sure, but I think they're going to be too late. Like, they're coming right now, but even now, this is going to be... They're even going to smoke for this under the ward. That's why it worked out so well, because LGD didn't have the luxury of doing it inside their base. So now MVP just backs up. They don't really care, and you have the Ravage available, but it doesn't really matter that much against the Aegis now and the item timings of MVP.
Certainly not. They've got both OD and Ember Spirit now hitting their level 11s.
You've almost got a BKB on your OD too. LGD have to do something. You can't play this passive with the type of heroes that you have. I don't even think they've blown a single Ravage yet. They're looking for some ideal fight at this point, but it's just not going to present itself. At some point, you just have to say, we'll take what we can get. Like 2-man engagements, that's almost exactly what I said that they should avoid, but you don't really have a lot of opportunities anymore.
Maybe if they can clear through this Ancient stack, ROTK, well even then, he's actually not going to be close to that Blink Dagger at all.
Yeah. He, in fact, builds a Bracer first as...
16-minute Blink Dagger for Fevy.
Yeah. Most of the time people go
Yeah.
Aetherlands, but I think in this case it's fine. Because
Particularly against a Morphling feels...
yeah. Map control too.
Yeah.
The ability for support to just instantly blow up another support is pretty huge.
Tidehunter replicate sitting in the mid lane. Maybe they're going to try and bait it out into a team fight or something. I'm not sure what their plan is, to be honest.
Yeah. This
Seems
Tide-
like they're just a little lost in this game right now.
Looks like Tide is going for a mech, which I think is an okay idea, but
Oh, our Chen should have a mech.
wait.
Shouldn't he?
Why does he have the Ring of...
I mean, I saw the Ring of Regen picked up, and I was going to mention it, but honestly, I'm not sure what ROTK was thinking.
Okay, they... I mean, LGD just seem out of it right now. Like, that's something that they should have communicated almost immediately. Like, that's the first thing you do when you pick double mech carriers. Like, for example, you have a Darkseer plus a Chen on your team. Somebody has to say, okay, I'm going to go this, you go this. That just kind of feels like kind of poor communication between team members right there. And now you've got almost a BKB completed on your OD, so now you don't even care about the Disruptor ult or the Tidehunter ultimate. And
Let's
the
get
Orchid
Sylar
timing-
here with the Orchid. Sylar has no hope of being able to escape from that one. The Orchid picked up well before the Lincolns, and QO is even going to try and chase down some of these Chen creeps, because why the hell not? Still managed to get the Centaur stunned, but LGD obviously have no control to be able to go on an Ember Spear.
Yeah, he fakes out the Ravage, but even Kyo knows there's no rush right now. They have the Aegis available, and LGD, I don't think they can fight into this lineup as long as MVP stays spread. If you catch a 5-man Ravage, yeah, but without the mobility of a Blink Dagger, I don't really know how they expect to take this fight. Kyo's just solo zoning them out right now. This Ember Spirit.
Oh, Febby! He saw the opportunity, jumps in, blows up the Chen real quick with a Finger of Death. They already guaranteed the tier 2 before, but they'll also be able to take that top tower as well with the Furion split push. Gold is just rolling in for MVP now.
Yeah, they have complete map control. The Orchid timing is almost just, it's like comical at this point. MVP for Rev has 9,400 net worth at 18 minutes into the game. The GPM is spiraling out of control.
Now I know they just got a big team fight item in the BKB, but do you actually go high ground as MVP right here?
Yeah, Vegas. Look at QO play.
Jesus, maybe he's just going to be blown up right away as QO's leading him far in. MP finally drops the ultimate. The Ravage goes down. They actually get some control over the Ember Spear. It looks like they got the Static Storm over it, but Siler's died at the same time on the left-hand side. A 1-for-2 exchange. They bring back MP, still has that Aegis though. LGD really can't commit too much to going on that. In fact, with a Witch Doctor there, MP's willing to turn and fight ROTK as the backline is being controlled up by this cast time and time again. ROTK getting body blocked up by Febby beautifully, and they turn their attention back to the tier 3 tower and attempt to end this game nice and early.
Yeah, MVP showing that it's not even really like the typical 5-man push heroes that they show off. It's more they're just so good at controlling the map that they make it look easy. 19-minute racks, and arguably they have better late game. Actually, I don't even think it's arguable. You've got Nature's Prophet, Ember Spirit, and OD as cores. You've got the late game on lock. LGD, the one time they had that huge comeback against OG, I think they had the better late game cores, and that's why we never counted them out. But this game is rapidly kind of just gone out of control right now.
Yeah, LGD very much had this window of time that was supposed to start anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes and go to like 35 minutes. If you went too late, you'd be entirely dependent on your Morphling at that point in time. But
yeah, I think we've seen one Ravage this game so far too, and it just
hit the Ember Spirit.
Yeah, and that's even less about ROTK and more just the fact that MVP are fighting around that fact. They're splitting up the map constantly. They're making it difficult for ROTK to ever get aggressive, and they've completely phased this Chen out of this game so far.
Is MP, what's this early Hyperstone going for?
He's going
Is
for
it actually Moonshard?
Yeah.
Moonshard, essentially second item if you were going to preclude the treads and drums.
Oh, okay.
BKB and a Moonshard.
Your Nature's Prophet has Axe. I don't even think it's that great of an item in this position.
When you're so far ahead that you've already taken a top lane.
Yeah, you might as well get like a Necro 3.
Yeah, you have full control of the game. There's not much need for split pushing at this
MP's
point.
just like, what do I buy, guys? I've got 4.2k.
I've never been in this position before. RTK forced to TP back. QO already using those steering chains. There's the Ether Lens now for a Lion, but we're pretty much waiting on LGD to go high ground once again. Or, excuse me, MVP.
Yeah, LGD are going to be hard-pressed to stop this. Like, QO dives in and somehow creates space for his team in that dive, and they don't even care that they're losing their pseudo-1 position as...
Febby looking for the opportunity.
He wants to blow up ROTK if he can.
Oh, he just got him too, Febby. Jesus, I thought LGD was going to be ready for that one, and they scattered him out a little bit, but apparently not. RTK is down. He has buyback.
They knew it was coming, but what are you supposed to do, Cav? Commit the Ravage and the Disruptor ulti to stop a line from going on your Tidehunter? Febby's thinking to himself, that's a win-win situation. Like, I go in, it does nothing, they'll drop ultis, and MVP starting the dual front assault. This is so clean by them.
ROTK is still not buying back, but he almost needs to. 15 seconds left. Both tier 3 towers are going to be down.
I think he's at the realm where you don't. Once you're around like 15 seconds, unless you're at threat of losing racks right then, if it's not imminent, you have time.
Nature's Prophet actually going to TP into the base. Go for maybe here with the Orchid. They have controlled up MP until the BKB comes into play. Blows up the Siler Morphling. They're going to go on MMY next. It's just a slaughterhouse as MP is just stealing so much intelligence now. GG called by Siler. A very clean victory here for MVP in game number 1. We're talking about potential changes of style and the draft and everything else, but this is looking like the group stage all over again for MVP Phoenix.
Yeah. This time they did it with heroes that were slightly different. So I thought maybe, you know, you get a slower tempo game, but it doesn't even feel like the heroes matter so much as their playstyle. They just played way too fast for LGD. That Chen pick just did not pay off.
Absolutely. As apparently our game's still going on. Got Megas.
Yeah,
LGD's a little...
23-minute Megas.
Maybe they want some extra time. Every little bit of time they can to talk about this game.
Yeah. So now the disconnects come out. LGD are just leaving en masse.
All right, maybe now confirms it with a full GG out. Is this though Blitz game one? You think LGD are actually going to be able to come back from this kind of, for no other word, stomp?
I have no idea. Just the way that they got stomped, I feel like they're going to be shell-shocked. I was. I thought the Chen pick was going to do a lot more than this.
All right, well, that's just game number one. We'll pass it now over to our lovely group panel.
Back at the